Anybody there?
All right. Well, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles. And with me today, I have a special guest. He has his own podcast as well. It's called the Pulling Tarp. Hopefully I got that right. With me, I have Bobby. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. How about you, Ed?
You know what? I'm good. For those that are watching the video version, my office setup is a hot mess right now. So I do apologize for that. But what are you going to do? It's still under construction.
Absolutely.
So tell me, and obviously I go into the, what's your, that moment in which you became a fan, right? I want to know, like, I've always wanted to know two things. One, how you became a fan of all sports, and then two, what kind of collections you have, right? Because I'm a collector myself. I collect a lot of dad hats and all that. So I want to know, like, what got you started into collecting?
Okay, sure. So I collect a couple different things. So I collect bobbleheads.
Nice.
And I'm not like the kind of guy that will like purposefully wait hours and hours in line to get one or like order them online or anything like that. I'm sure we're going to get into it soon here, but I worked in minor league baseball for 8 years.
Yep.
So a lot of the bobbleheads I have, there's a couple that I've gotten from going to major league games. And I've swapped a couple of them here and there. But primarily they're ones from the teams that I worked for that I helped design, or I did the graphic designing for the box that it came in. So things that I pride myself on a lot, because it was a lot of hard work,
Absolutely.
And considering like we were giving away 1,000 of them, I wanted one for my own collection because
As you
I worked
should,
so
right?
hard on it. Yeah. And then something that I've acquired over a long period of time. Again, I don't really like go out and seek them, but I have a lot of cool like beer glasses and a couple
Nice.
cans as well. Just from like different breweries that I've gone to, and different beers that I've tried. So and some people like they'll come across a cool one, and because like my favorite beer is Yingling. I'm from Pennsylvania, so
it has to be the beer of choice.
So like one of my buddies found like these really old like Yingling logo glasses. So yeah, I collect those as well. But yeah, those are pretty much it right now, the bobbleheads and the beer glasses.
That's pretty cool. I've never had anybody tell me that they collect that, which I think is awesome. First of all, Yingling beer is really good, so
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong there. But you actually collected the actual glasses that you can drink out of and all that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Now, let me ask you, you're saying, you're collecting beer. Now, do you, when you go to a minor league game, do you like to try out the beer that, for example, like, the Cannonballers have their own beer and all that. So
Yeah.
do you go and purchase that, beer as well?
Yeah, so wherever I am traveling, I like to try out like a local brewery. So it's something that you can't get everywhere. So yeah, I will try out like the super local breweries. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So tell me, what was that moment? How did you become a fan of sports altogether?
Oh wow. Well, it's interesting, right? Because like I grew up in a household like my parents don't like sports. My sister doesn't like sports. I truly am the black sheep of the family,
Right.
in that regard. Like yeah, my dad will tell me like it'll be like Monday morning and he'll text me and he'll be like, "Hey, I heard on the radio that your Eagles won." And like, like that's how he gets his news. And I'm like, Yeah, like I spent all Sunday watching football.
No, I
Like,
actually watched it, Dad, but
yeah,
thanks.
yeah. And they just couldn't fathom like why I would grind out working in minor league baseball for 8 years, with
Hmm.
working the long hours and the tiny paychecks. But and I'll get into that later. But I grew up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so if you're not aware, it's the home of the Little League World Series. That's
Hmm.
where Little League started. In fact, my grandpa grew up down the street from the guy that founded Little League.
Really?
Yes. So obviously there's a lot of baseball history in my hometown. We also have a minor league team, the Williamsport Crosscutters.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
now they're now part of the MLB draft league, but for a long time they're affiliated with the Phillies. Before that they were with the Pirates, and before that they were the Cubs. So
That's a history
um,
right there.
yeah, yeah. So I grew up going to those games, um, and having a blast. Like I just thought the promotions were like the coolest things, like the in-game promotions. And then going to the Little League World Series, I know it's been difficult to go obviously the last year they didn't have it, and this year it was just family members. But if
Yeah.
the world ever gets to a point where we can go to sporting events like freely again,
Without
the Little League,
any have to worry about anything at all, right?
right, exactly. The Little League World Series is free to go to.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
so my parents would drop me off at the beginning of the first game, and I would stay there until 10 o'clock at night till the last out of the last game.
Yeah.
And I would just hang out with my friends and walk around the ballpark there and like their campus. And they would, give me $10 for food, and
Off you went.
yep, that was it, man. It was just the thing to do. Is just like hang out with your friends at the Little League World Series. And then as far as other sports go, again, I said like my family's not big into sports, right?
Hmm.
So just the friends that I was hanging out with at that age,
It's just
like
that's how you create it.
when
Yeah.
you're like a preteen, um, all my friends at that point were Philadelphia fans. So Williamsport is smack dab in the center of Pennsylvania.
Just you
So
could have been Eagles or Steelers.
yeah, I could have been a Pittsburgh fan. I could have been a Philadelphia fan. At that moment in time, I went with Philadelphia. They were more of the underdogs because the Steelers were winning quite a bit of Super Bowls, and
Hmm.
so that in hand. Well, and of course, I really like basketball.
Hmm.
So Philadelphia has a basketball team,
And Pittsburgh doesn't.
whereas
Yeah.
Pittsburgh does not. And then so that just made me. I grew up being a Phillies fan. Never hated the Pirates because, like I said, the Crosscutters for a moment in time were a
Philly.
Pirates
Yeah.
affiliate. So, but yeah. And so now I root for because of me working in minor league baseball. Now I root for the Phillies, the Oakland A's. I root for the Orioles as well. So, um,
Well, I can tell you that my brother will be very happy by you saying Oakland A's because my brother is a huge Oakland A's fan.
okay.
So ever since we were in Puerto Rico, he's been a fan. You know, he would tell me stories, Canseco and all that. So I'm like, once he hears this, he's going to be very happy with you. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, the team I worked for in Wisconsin was an Oakland A's affiliate,
Gotcha. So what was the team?
the Beloit Snappers.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you grew up with pretty much the black sheep of the family, in
Mhm.
sports and all that. So tell me, how did you go from that to now I'm working in minor league baseball? Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a trajectory and something that you just got you going there.
Yeah. So I am personally not a fan of just having a job to have a job. I wanted to do something fun, at least for a little while, you know. And my senior year of college, I was just trying to figure out, you know, because everybody's asking you at that time,
What do you want to do when you
like,
grow
oh,
up?
what are you going to do when you
Right.
graduate? You know, and at that point, I had known like I want to do something in sports. I don't know what. I was a communication major, and this is the summer before my senior year. I did an internship in Los Angeles for the show Sports Science on ESPN.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was an intern on that show. I wrote some scripts, was a production assistant like on shoot days and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it was a really fun summer. I lived in a hostel. That was crazy.
Oh my God.
But so and then like, but I kind of figured like I liked LA, but I didn't want to be there forever. You know,
Yeah, because it's a busy place.
yeah, I was happy that I was just visiting for a long summer, not living there permanently. Even though watching sports on the West Coast is way better for your health because like so like for like baseball games that start at 7:30 and go until like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and this goes for football too. Like those games are like NBA finals games when I was out there were starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, that's a perfect time.
And they would be so like you're still at work, but like, you know, we had a TV there, like I was watching it, and then the game would be over by like 7 o'clock at night, and you could go to bed. You could still go to bed early, man.
Fully rested, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So then my senior year was there, and I just started sending out resumes blindly to all kinds of like minor league sports. Like, you know, we're talking like at that time, like NBA, D League teams.
You were just, here we go. Everybody that's willing to take me, I'm going.
I did send a lot of minor league baseball teams because there was more of them than anything else. Sent my resume to a couple like soccer teams, you know, really like anything. I was just trying to get my foot in the door. And the vice president of the Williamsport Crosscutters, he's also in charge of their marketing and media relations and stuff like that. He's a for real like marketing genius. And everybody in the baseball industry knows him, Gabe Sinacropi. So he emailed me back and was like, hey, I'm actually looking for an assistant for the summer. Would you have some time to talk? We talked. And he liked that I was local. They didn't have to find anywhere for me to live because my parents literally lived 2 minutes away from the ballpark. Like I can watch the fireworks from my house. So he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I was his assistant for the summer, and I just fell in love with it, man. Like I just loved being at the ballpark all the time. My employees being like family. Just
that's
like
awesome.
Having like creative freedom. It was just awesome. And
you ran a small business.
Yeah, exactly. And then so the season came and went, and again I was in a position where I just didn't know what I was going to do. So I called some high school football games on the radio. I worked at ESPN radio, Williamsport, just like board operating for like local sports. So behind the scenes there. And then I asked my boss at the Williamsport Crosscutters, I said, how do I go about making this a full-time gig? I'm willing to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to the baseball winter meetings in Nashville. This was in 2012. And he said, now you're going to have to pony up some cash to make this work, but that's where you go to find a job. And And he said, and put me as a reference. I still have him as a reference on my resume till this day.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I went there. I went to their job fair, paid the money for the flight down there, the hotel, all that stuff. I split it with one of my buddies, Kyle, who is now the assistant general manager for the Mets team in the Florida State League, the St. Lucie Mets.
The St. Lucie. I was just going to say St. Lucie.
Yeah, he's the assistant GM there now.
Good for him.
Yeah, and so I just applied to all kinds of positions, and I really wanted a full-time position, not another internship. I was over that, and
you've paid your dues when it comes to internship.
Yeah. So I applied for a director of media relations and marketing position in Beloit, Wisconsin, for the Beloit Snappers, and thought the interview went really well, and I was their runner up, and they offered it to somebody else and they took it. And so they called me and they said, hey, we already offered that position. They took it. You are our second choice. But we do need to fill another position, and it may not be ideal, but it'll help get your foot in the industry. Right. And and they looked at my resume, and at that point, my father, he still owns the business. He owns a garbage disposal company in Pennsylvania. And so they knew I wasn't afraid of hard work or getting dirty.
Yeah.
It's because I was a garbage man. And so they said, we need a director of food and beverage. And I was wondering if they were looking at the right resume. I was like, I've never even worked in fast food. I've never been a waiter. I've never literally done anything in the food industry. And they're like, oh, no worries. We'll help you out as much as we can. That was the hardest summer I ever had in my entire life. My body was sore the entire time.
Oh, I'm sure.
So much physical labor. And then you have to pass a food safety course. You have to pass a number of exams to even be able to legally serve food in the state of Wisconsin.
Interesting.
So I had to study a lot for that. And then, so the next year, they let go of the guy that they hired instead of me for their director of marketing and media relations position. And so it was a very small front office, and I had already had experience doing that. Quite honestly, I already knew how to update the team website, and they desperately needed that. And so they just told me to go ahead and start doing that. So for a little while, I was doing director of food and beverage things and director of media relations and marketing things.
Oh my God.
The entire off season. And then they finally told me you can be the director of media relations and marketing. And so I was in that role for 3 years. And I did. And so, wrote a lot of game stories, updated the website, updated Facebook, Twitter. At that time, we didn't have Instagram, or Instagram might have been new. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And then during games, I did the PA announcing and was the DJ. And so, it's been a wild ride. And then I was in Beloit for a total of 4 years. And then I was in Delmarva for the Shorebirds.
Shorebirds,
yeah.
Which is now another. They're still under the Orioles.
Yeah.
I'm mistaken. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I love that team. The logo is pretty cool. I love that. So that's your whole story. How you went from 8 years of just grinding it out in the minors.
Yeah. And then I met my wife, and she kind of put the kibosh on that. She's like, you're not going to spend 14, 16 hours at the ballpark anymore if we can't afford to pay our bills. And I was like, all right, I guess I understand that.
Yes.
So
Okay. All right. I guess I understand that part. So what do you do it now? So you just like, you're not working in sports anymore?
No, I work actually,
And what?
so in insurance.
Okay.
So, and then I also help out with our local agency's marketing as well.
You can't get away from the marketing, my friend.
No. It's a, like, I don't think I'm like the best at it, but like, especially where I live, the amount of people that know how to use Photoshop is at a minimum. People that know how to strategize and gain like Facebook followers and Instagram followers and stuff like that, like they don't know how to do it. It's insane, like, because it's kind of easy.
It's funny you say that, because in my current position, and I work in insurance as well.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
That's my day job. So
we'll talk about that off
topic.
Yeah.
But it is one of those hardest things, is to make a lot of people understand that if you engage on social media, if you know what I mean, if you push that out there, that return, one, it's free, right? So it doesn't take much. And then two, that the return that you get on that investment is already, you're on the positive right there.
It's one of the most inexpensive forms of marketing. And I take it back because marketing is not easy.
It's not.
Like the people, like, I'm just trying to think, like Hunter Hornstein, for instance, with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, genius at marketing, like so like amazing. He's on top of everything. Like, it's not easy, but like we're talking like, for my company, because we are so short staffed as of right now, and
everywhere, my friend, I understand that part.
Well, yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it?
And like I'm dedicated, in like the amount of people that are moving to this area, and like the phone's just ringing off the hook. I'm dedicating like a total of like 5 to 10 minutes to put up a social media post, and like we've grown.
So
we've
it
grown
needs to
followers.
be a good social media post if you're that little bit of a time.
Yeah, and like baseball, for instance, it's a little bit easier, right? Because like baseball's fun, like it's easy to get people's attention. Whereas insurance, like, there's nothing fun about insurance.
You're like,
like you gotta come up with something. Like I solely, like, not solely, but like I rely on like the national, like what was whatever, like yesterday was National Coaches Day. Like, like
that's awesome. I love it. It makes it fun though, right? Because you're so doing something. Hey, come in and get a quote with us or something along those lines.
Yeah. Like, or today's National Taco Day. Where's the best taco in town? Like that kind of stuff.
Love it, absolutely. And I'm a fan of tacos. So let me ask you, obviously you work in an industry where it's not the most fun thing. So you have your podcast. Is that how that's what keeps you, that connects you to the baseball world, right? Is that?
Yeah. So I had the idea for the Pulling Tarp podcast for probably 2 to 3 years before I ever started even like looking into doing it. And I was just telling you, like, I was working 14, 16-hour days during the summer for like 7 days in a row. And so I just never had the time to like look into it. And so that's what I told myself, because like at the time, my wife, she is a nurse, and she works night shifts, long days. She works 12-hour shifts. And I was like, man, I'm going to be left alone by myself.
You can get in trouble real easy.
Yeah. And like, I had this idea for this podcast. And then, so I saw on social media that one of my buddies that worked in the press box with me in Beloit, Wisconsin, was doing a lot of things with podcasts. And so I just texted him and I was like, hey man, like I see you're doing a lot with podcasts. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And he told me, and I said, well, how does one exactly like start a podcast? And he said, well, what's your idea? And I told him my idea of interviewing somebody who works in minor league baseball every week and just interviewing them. And he said, I love it. He said, he did start like a podcast network called Stoveleg Media. And there's actually some really popular podcasts on there. But so he said, I think that's something that we would want to help you out with. And so he helped me, edit and make some like sound bites for like when we go into break and like an intro and that kind of stuff. And then just like sent me on my way. And if I ever need him, I can text him. But yeah, that's how I got started. And
that's
now we're
awesome.
83 episodes in. So
that's cool. I like that. I like that story just because you just like, you know what? I might as well do something.
Yeah.
It's the same with me pretty much. I mean, I've always wanted to be in radio. Right.
Okay.
And I almost went to school for that. So I was like, okay, so that didn't work out because like I'm married, right? I was like, okay, being in radio, you probably have to go to some like small town to get, going and all that. So I'm like, I can't do that right now. So I put that aside. I put it up, back in the shelf and then just, okay, working. Pandemic happened. And I was like, you know what? I got to do something with my time because I'm working from home now.
Oh yeah.
So I started looking into it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and that's how, this is how this happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I worked in radio and my dad, like very briefly, like I was just part-time.
Yeah.
My dad wanted me to be full-time in radio. And I kept on trying to tell him radio's dying. Like, the traditional radio,
right?
Like,
exactly.
It will always exist,
but in more digital world, but it's a little bit different than your traditional AM FM radio.
Right. And I love being behind a microphone. I'm terrified if I have to speak like in front of people, but I like doing this, like
there's that wall
or doing public address announcing at a game doesn't bother me because everybody's looking the opposite way.
You're not the center of attention.
Yeah, I love talking behind a microphone. I just don't like all eyes on me.
I love it. That's awesome. So you're doing the podcast. So did you come up with your own, little digital the
logo?
The logo, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, actually. Well, I came up with a version of it.
Okay.
And so I did it in Photoshop and but Stoveleg Media actually knows somebody that has like a graphic design degree, like
this is what they do every day.
So basically they took like the first $20 from like the ads that I made from the first couple episodes and paid her to make that. But I came up with the name for the podcast because I was just trying to think like of something catchy that epitomized what it was like working in minor league baseball. And there was two things I could come up with. You always say that you haven't worked in minor league baseball until you've been in a mascot costume and until you pull tarp. And
True.
So I was just like, okay, what could go with podcasts? I was like, Pulling Tarp Podcast. There it is.
Boom.
So, yeah.
Hey, listen, it's catchy and it works. And like you said, that is minor league, because I've talked to some people already and they said, you know what? Yeah, everybody has to pull tarp once in a while. That's just part of the gig.
it doesn't matter how busy you are, if there is any sizable amount of rain that's in the forecast,
All
it
hands
doesn't
on
matter.
deck.
It doesn't matter if you're in dress shoes and like a button-up shirt. Like, you are out there pulling the tarp. It's
So
all
I
hands on deck.
I spoke with Anderson Rathbun of the Sock Puppets, and he goes
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh yeah, I got my own set of clothes right here on the side, and
Yep.
when it's time to go, that's what I'm doing." I was
Yep.
like, Nobody's above anybody here. We got to do everybody's doing what they're supposed to do in the minor leagues."
Yeah. So if you ever go to a game, and all of the all of the staff isn't wearing like their staff polos, they're walking around in like t-shirts, crappy sneakers, and basketball shorts.
Look
Like,
up.
yeah, it's because there's rain in the forecast at some point.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it. So let's talk about that collection of yours, your bobbleheads.
Yeah.
So you've designed some of the bobbleheads itself, and then the boxes themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty
So
cool.
basically, like, designing them, or like just having input, like basically like the
Mhm.
companies in China are designing them, but you
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
the final say. Yeah. Yep. And then I would design like the boxes in Photoshop, and then the company prints them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love bobbleheads. I think they're it's just one of those things that, like, it's cool to put them up, on the mantle or your man cave, whatever, just
Yeah.
because, hey, I was at that game, or
Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah, I have the biggest part of my collection is at my office.
Mhm.
And so it's a talking point when people come to my desk. They're like, "Oh, you know, a lot of bobbleheads. Like, well, where'd you get all those?" And I was like, "Well, funny thing,
Funny you say that.
yeah, so yeah."
What's your most prized possession bobblehead?
Ooh. Mm, I think this one is the coolest, and I didn't design it. As
Uh-huh.
far as ones that I've designed, or like helped design the box, Zach Britton was a good
Yep.
one. Um, and then we did a country singer, that's from this local area. His name's Jimmy Allen. He's actually on Dancing with the Stars right now, actually. Um, and so I actually just like Facebook messaged him and was like, "Hey, dude, like, I work for the minor league baseball team that's closest to you. Um, would we be able to do a bobblehead of you?" And like, he put me in contact with his people, and and then I designed the box, and it's like a country
Yeah, country
themed
theme.
box.
Yeah.
So and then I'm gonna grab my favorite one,
Go
and
for it.
I actually got this at a Milwaukee Brewers game. So hold on
Nice.
one moment.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Okay,
I love this.
since you're a video podcast, like, this comes into play.
Yes, it does. And I love it.
All right.
Let's take a look.
So this is a Harry Doyle bobblehead.
Look at that. That
Obviously, Bob Uecker played Harry Doyle
yeah, in
League,
Major League. Yeah.
which is one of the funniest movies.
It's on my
It's like,
top. It's on the top of
yeah,
my list. Bull Durham. Obviously, huge Durham Bulls fan here, but it's that one, Major League. And if you're from this area here in Cleveland, if you don't have Major League as one of your favorite movies, something's wrong with
yeah,
you.
exactly. And it does talk, I believe. Hold on. Oh man,
Battery died.
yeah, or something. I don't know.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
I love that. I
yeah,
love it has
and
a little cup on the side. It
I
has
know.
the little microphone and everything on its. Oh, that
Yeah,
is just
I'll
great.
close up here.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, the suit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know it is. And I just happened to be going to like the game that day, and
Oh,
that's one of the best parts about going to Brewers games, is that Miller Park. I don't know what it's called now, but it's always going to be Miller Park. You don't have to worry about them getting rained out, because there's a roof.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wish Cleveland would have a retractable roof just because of that, and we live, we're up here in the north, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's right by the lake. So you get snow and you get those games where it's like 40s or 30s and you are just miserable.
So I don't know. So have you listened to my episodes where I have Paul Caputo on?
No, not yet.
Okay. So
I gotta listen to. I gotta look for it.
Yeah. So I told you I worked in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Baseball season starts in April, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is so cold in Wisconsin.
It's just you're miserable. Yeah.
So there were a couple games where we got snowed out. I remember one game, and we're wearing white jerseys because we're at home, and it starts snowing.
Oh.
It starts flurrying, and then it keeps on coming down and keeps on coming down, and it gets windier and windier, and we're at the point where like the snow is coming down sideways. And
it's just, oh no.
And there's almost nobody in the stands, right? I'm in the press box, and I hear the catcher say to the umpire, which that tells you how many people were in the stands, and how small of a stadium we were in. He says, "How long are we going to let this go?" And the umpire says, "What do you mean?" And the catcher says, "I can't see the ball coming at my face."
Oh my God.
And so keeps on coming down. We were down, I believe. We were down like, I think we were down by 2 runs or something like that. And then there were so many errors in the inning.
Of course.
Like, I think we ended up winning like 7-5 or something like that. And it only got to the 5th inning. So
at that point, I was like, all right, fine. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. So basically they were just trying to make it an official game. And
so they didn't have to do like a doubleheader or anything like that. Exactly.
So yeah, and so we ended up coming back to win because they committed like 4 errors in that half inning. So, and then all of the Latin guys, and there was a Hawaiian guy on the team that year too. They all went out there and did snow angels in the outfield.
Well, that's awesome. I would have done the same thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So I met Paul at opening day for the Beloit Snappers in 2014. And he was in the press box. I had given him a press credential to cover the game. And it's such like a small front office. Everybody's doing the work of like 4 people.
Yeah.
And we were like switching around laptops, and like we were trying to make like a laptop for the ticketing system work for the music and stuff like that. And it got to be the 7th inning, and I realized that Take Me Out to the Ball Game was not programmed onto this computer. Like the music file was not on there.
It was on a different computer.
It was on a different computer. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so I radioed the on-field host, and I said, hey, it's not in here. What do you want me to do? And he said, I think you're going to have to sing it.
No.
And I said, no shot. Like
that's not happening.
I am tone deaf when it comes to singing
to music or anything like that.
Yeah. So Paul's sitting 2 feet behind me, and he goes, I'll do it if you want me to. And I said, really? Now, mind you, I had only known him for like those 2 hours.
Right.
Like, up until from when gates opened to the 7th inning. And so I was like, all right. And so I introduced him. I said, we have special guest tonight, Paul Caputo from sportslogos.net. And he has volunteered to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Take it away, Paul. And sure enough, he sung it like a champ, handed me back the microphone, everybody, all 150 people that were in the ballpark that night gave him a round of applause. And that's how Paul and I's friendship began.
The legend that is Paul Caputo, my man. I love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to talk to him about this. He didn't tell me this story. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's listen, he just rose to the moment, right? He was like, here I go.
Yeah.
What do you need me to do?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It was
now,
amazing.
now are you still going to games? What are you doing? Obviously when you get the chance.
Yeah. I only made it to, I think, 3 Delmarva Shorebirds games this year as a fan. Went to opening night and got rained out. And then I think I went to 2 other ones. But yeah, they're the closest team. I live about a half hour away from their stadium. So I love going to games, but really where if I am traveling, like obviously traveling has not been happening a lot.
Mhm.
But like if I'm in town for a wedding or a work trip or something like that, yeah, I want to go to every stadium and minor league team I can go to.
Within your radius right there that you have.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, you've been to a few of them, obviously to a few ballparks and things like that. What is your most memorable ballpark that you've been to?
Ooh. Any of them? Like just
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever ballpark that you want, whether it's major league, minor league, anything like that. Obviously, I have my passion for minor league just because I think there's a certain magic to a minor league ballpark that this just doesn't really have in the major leagues.
Yeah. I mean, I love PNC Park. That's amazing.
That's a beautiful park.
Miller Park is awesome. But I would probably, so the most memorable, because I have the most memories there, besides Beloit, Wisconsin, would probably be historic Bowman Field for the Williamsport Crosscutters. And just because I grew up going to games there, that's where I had my first sip of beer.
Nice.
This would have never happened in today's world with phones and social media.
For sure. That never happened.
I was probably like 11 or 12, and my dad had gotten a beer at the game, and I said to him, like, what does that taste like? And he said, you're not gonna like it. And I said, well, tell me what it tastes like. And he's like, you really want to know? And I was like,
you have to try it. Yep.
And he handed it to me, and in front of like thousands of people, I was sipping on a beer when I was like 11 or 12, and didn't end up on social media or anything. So there's that memory, and just coming up with different like in between innings promotions there.
There's something cool about you grew up in that ballpark, right? I think that's awesome. And then you ended up working there. So that just makes it even better.
Yeah. I created like the soundtrack, like, between innings and stuff like that. And then I worked with the only team that has a director of smiles. His name's Rashawn Westbay. And he's iconic in the city of Williamsport. Like every year they do a bobblehead of him. I have a calendar of him at my work. It's like, he is the man, and he's just so like, it's hard to say. So he's like a special needs type of person. And he is just the most happy-go-lucky person.
That's awesome.
He makes your workday so much better from just being so funny and kind as well. And he sings "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." He greets all the fans as they come into the stadium. Like, he is the man in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So a lot of good conversations with him, and just some of the funnest people I worked with.
That's cool. You know what? You would listen, as much as I love, because I got my major league team here, right? I got Cleveland here, the Cleveland Guardians now, right? I'm saying that a lot so that way I can get used to the new name.
Right.
If you haven't said that, Cleveland Guardians.
Yep.
But there's, like I said, there's just something about the minor leagues like that, like a director of smile, things that just make minor league baseball what it is. And I look at it as it's just magical,
Yeah, I totally agree. Growing up in that community, I saw everything that the crosscutters did for that community, right? So that's probably part of the reason, and thinking about it in hindsight, why I went into minor league baseball was because I wanted to help other communities, like and give back to them, same way that my hometown did. So
that's awesome. Love it. Love it. Okay. Before I go into my one section, as I call it, my famous, not so famous, rapid fire questions here.
Right.
Okay. Any plans, anything that you're planning for your podcast right now, which you got in the works?
Really, dude, I just play it week by week. When I'm editing, this week's episode, I shoot off some Twitter messages to some people and see if I can make something work in my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you, like, I want to be able to have the time to do video in a YouTube channel. I want to do merchandise, which I know that you've branched out and have done. So I did make a promise to my listenership or followers or whatever. I waited an extremely long time to make the podcast its own Twitter account. But I waited like 60 episodes, I think, so we're up to like 150 some followers.
We got to work on getting that, that numbers up. I'll help you out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I said, once we get up to 200, I will seriously look into doing merchandise.
There you go. All right. So here you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yep.
We got to get you to, you said what, 200 you said?
Yeah, 200.
All right. We're going to get you to 200. Get some merchandise in. I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The way I started, I started with some stickers.
Okay.
I love stickers. I don't know why it is. I mean, my bottle right now was just full of them,
Okay.
Especially the minor league ones, I just think, right, because their logos are awesome. I love their logos. There's just something about minor league logos that I just gravitate towards, and that's why I have so many hats. It's because of that,
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, minor league logos and identities and merchandise is just supreme. Honestly.
Copa. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's just something about it. So, all right. So, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. So, you go to the ballpark. What is your food of choice, drink of choice? What do you go? What do you get?
All right. I get a local brew.
Good man.
And then I am a sucker for like the craziest thing on the menu or their specialty.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try pretty much anything. I know I had a guy on my podcast, and he's the general manager for the Erie Seawolves, and they have a cotton candy hot dog.
I will try that.
I would try it. I don't know if I'm gonna like it,
right? But at least you can say you tried it, right?
At the ballpark I worked at in Wisconsin, we had we called it the Snappy Burger, and it was a cheeseburger with a brat cut long ways and laid on top of the cheeseburger.
That just sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Love it. Absolutely. Okay. So, rain or snow?
Ooh, I'll go rain. If you've never been a garbage man in the snow, you'll know why I'm saying rain.
You're right away. You're like, no, I'm done. That's not
Yeah.
happening.
Yep.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Good man. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't go wrong with either one, but
I
just
live
having
like 30 minutes away from the beach right now. So
no, I wish I did.
yeah.
And for all of you that say, well, Ohio has a beach, which but no.
Yeah.
That's a lake with some
Yeah.
sand. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not a beach.
Yep.
Okay. Favorite board game?
Ooh. I used to play this with my little cousins all the time. Sorry.
Oh, the game. Sorry. Yeah.
That was a good one.
I have not played that game in a while.
Yeah.
So my daughter just she found out about Hungry Hippos. So it looks like I'll be
Ooh,
buying one of those pretty soon so she can play
that's a
it. But I
good
mean,
one.
it's a good one, such a fun one,
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
Okay. If you were to have a spirit animal, what would the spirit animal be?
Ooh. I would say a dog. I look at my dog's life. He's so spoiled beyond
So
belief
chill.
because we don't have any kids yet.
Mhm.
So he goes to doggy daycare. He's literally sleeping in bed with my wife right now.
Pampered.
Yeah, he goes on long walks. We play with him. He's just loved by everybody. Yeah,
What
I just think it's so
what kind of
awesome.
dog? What kind of dog do you have?
He is I'm pretty sure he's a Beagle Jack Russell mix.
Oh wow.
So here, I'll show you a picture of him.
That's pretty cool. I mean, we have a dog now. We used to have two, but one of them passed away. But we have a Chihuahua,
Yeah.
and that girl is
Okay.
spoiled to death.
Yeah.
So
Let me see here. That's him.
oh yeah, look at that face. Yeah, that is the face of a pampered dog right there.
Yep, that's for sure.
All right. What is the most recent show that you binge watched?
Ooh. Like re-binge watched or
Yeah, re-binge or just started new.
okay. The show that I look forward to the most right now is Ted Lasso.
Oh, such a good show.
Such a good show. Oh my gosh, I can't. It's
I
such a
started
good.
I started watching it by myself, and then my wife would not allow me to watch it by myself anymore
Okay.
because she loves it. And it's so good.
Yeah. And I'm rewatching Saturday Night Light or Friday Night Lights right now.
I have not, I never watched it, so I have to give it a shot. I just never really got into it. I don't know why,
It's
but
just
if
something I
everybody is
can.
saying it's so good.
Yeah. It's just something that I can watch like on my lunch break and stuff like that. The one
Your
that
own
like,
time.
yeah, the one that like if I'm homesick or something like that, I will always watch How I Met Your Mother. Like I just
You
think
need
that's an
something
incredible show.
comforting and
Yeah,
hilarious to pass the day. I get
yeah,
that. Hmm.
yeah.
Love it. Okay. Growing up, who was your crush, your TV crush?
Ooh, man, that is tough.
So many choices.
I would probably say at this moment in time, and now these were still reruns, I believe.
Mhm.
But Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell,
Yeah.
she was a babe.
Oh
Still
yeah.
is,
Still
honestly.
listed today. So
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Okay. Let's see here. I got so many questions. What is your most used emoji that you use the most?
Definitely the smiley crying face.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the one straight or the one that's sideways?
The straight one.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Like,
All right.
yeah.
Let me ask you a question here. Is cereal a soup?
Oh,
I'm making you think here, my man.
yeah. I first off the bat, I say no.
See, I would say the same thing. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
How about this one?
I don't think it is.
How about this one? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh my gosh. So it's not.
You're a
say
good
that.
man. Yes.
I actually like lost the Snappers like a sausage contract with because the
wait. You lost their contract?
so we had a hot dog contract and we had a sausage contract. And the guy from the sausage, like the guy from the sausage company said, "Hey, I noticed that you haven't bought any of our hot dogs for the last 2 years." And I said, "Yeah, that's because we have another contract for hot dogs." And then he said, "Well, a hot dog is a sausage." And I said, "Absolutely not. It in no way, shape, or form. Like, would anybody consider a hot dog a sausage?" And they pulled out of the deal the very next year. They're like, "Yeah, we're not doing this.
We're out."
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, but you're not wrong.
I know. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right, couple more here and then I'll get you out of here. All right. Do you think that aliens exist?
Yes. I personally think like there are some professional athletes that are some sort of like alien or superhero, like
superhuman.
Like let's just think like LeBron James. Like,
oh, that man is not human. You're right.
Not human.
Otani in baseball.
You take Otani, yeah. You could take a look at Aaron Judge, and you'd be like, yeah, he's not human. Like,
they do things that no mere mortal's supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely love it. Your favorite sports movie? A lot of people have a lot of movies, right? Because I'm a fan of all movie sports, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have the one that you just, no matter what, you will watch.
So whenever it's on cable, I do watch this. I'll have it on in the background with whatever I'm doing. The Replacements.
Dude, it's such a good movie.
And it's on like at least once a month, like on the weekends. Like it's,
I mean, who could not be a fan of Falco?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Good man. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. Last question here. What color is your toothbrush? So you got you're thinking about it. Blue and white. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate. Where can people find you on social media? But hey, listen, you got your podcast Twitter, so you got to give it out some love out there now.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like a joint podcast and just me Instagram account right now. And that is at RA Coon 54. So that's RACOON 54. And then my personal Twitter account is, you can either search for Bobby Coon or it's RA Coon. So that's ITSRACOON. And then the Pulling Tarp Podcast Twitter account is at Pulling Tarp Pod. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. Just search Bobby Coon. But that's really everything that I'm on.
Awesome. Again, and I'll put all this information on the notes and everything, so that way they can go ahead and find all of that information there as well.
Yeah.
So
and then I'll say the Pulling Tarp Podcast comes out every Thursday morning primarily. And it's anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really whatever app you listen to it on.
Make sure you guys give it a follow and listen up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, my man.
Thank you so much, Ed.
I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for sharing all your awesome stories in the minors.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's so much fun.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Bobby. Make sure you guys are following him and his podcast. I'm going to put the information in the notes. And then before I go, you guys already know what I'm going to ask, okay? Make sure you guys are telling one more person about this podcast so that way they can always enjoy it as much as you do. And then follow it, okay? If you are on the audio like podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and if you want to give it a good ranking, please do so that way we move up, okay? Until then, guys, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya.